it's Maggie, and today we're going to talk about guilt with having a chronic illness. Before we get into that, I want to mention my vlog channel again. I'm doing little vlogs with Zach and our house and our dogs and our chickens and all that fun stuff. I know some of you guys were like, hey, why do you not make videos all that often? It's just because of my busy schedule. I do work 2 jobs, a full-time and a part-time. I live on a farm and we have to care for everything, so it's much easier for me to pick up my phone and video like just our lives. And that's how I'm making more content for you guys. So if you are interested in seeing those kind of videos, life beyond Crohn's disease, head on over there. I'll put the link in the description, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So, guilt with a chronic illness. I think that everybody with a chronic illness feels this at some point in their diagnosis. But basically, the feelings of inadequacy, being somebody who maybe can't do as much physically, emotionally, can't work, can't provide, have to rely on others, depending on others, being monetarily not able to care for themselves, relying on other people's money, feeling expensive or feeling like a burden to others, people having to spend copious amounts of time caring for you, and not being able to give anything in return. Totally normal feelings when having a chronic illness. This is going to be more of a video about how I try to overcome these feelings. It's pretty hard to not feel them, and it's just one of those things that kind of comes along with the territory of being chronically ill. But I'm going to talk about a few of the things that I do to kind of combat this. So the first thing that I do to combat this feeling is doing what I can. That can be really hard for somebody very physically unable to do things. And I have been, depending on where you're coming from in your story, you may look at me like, oh, please, there is like nothing wrong with this girl. She is totally fine. Like, she is good to go. And then some of you might be looking at me like, oh my God, this poor girl has a bag. Like, her life is over. Like, depending on where you're coming from, looking at me, I don't know how you see me. But there have been points in my life where I've been able to do very little, and then there have been points in my life where I'm able to do a lot. And during those times where I'm able to do very little, it's hard to do what I can. So by doing what I can, that is how I started in advocacy, like patient advocacy. Because when you're lying in the hospital room, unable to move, like, what can you do? The only thing I could think of was get on a computer, get my camera out, and film and tell people my story. That was how I was able to feel like I was doing something when I really couldn't do much. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much it means to others when they share their story. When I first made my YouTube video telling my story with my Crohn's disease, I was desperately searching for somebody else my age with an ostomy. Because the only time, like, you'll flip through the TV channels and get that, Liberty Medical, whatever commercial, and it's older people with ostomies doing their thing, and I was like, okay, that's wonderful, that's fantastic, but where's the 16-year-old that has an ostomy? Because that's who I am right now, and I don't see anybody else. So when I got on there and people were commenting on my video saying, I'm so-and-so from wherever, and I have the same thing as you, and here's my story, I was like, I'm not alone! I'm not alone in this world! It meant the world to me. So sharing your experience can help so much, make you feel worthwhile. The next thing is easier said than done. And I always get super angry with people who tell me this. Zach will say this to me sometimes. He'll be like, just having a positive attitude about it will really change things. And I'm like, shut up. Like, you don't know. You don't know what I'm living. But it's true. I hate to admit it. But having a positive outlook and really searching, and sometimes you really have to search, like you are in the dark and your flashlight is dead and you just can't see anything. it's very hard to see anything positive. Looking for that one positive little thing can make a world of difference. And my dad has told me, he tells me like pretty much every time we get on the phone, because my dad and we'll chat for like 5 hours on the phone every couple weeks, and we rehash our entire history. My dad and I are very close because he was pretty much my only caregiver in my whole life. But he always tells me how it made it so much easier on him being the caregiver, that I was willing to learn, I was willing to, figure out life with my new normal, with having an ostomy bag and having to take medications and kind of living the hospital life for a while. He said it made it much easier on him that I wasn't just nope, I'm not doing it, I'm giving up on life, everybody else has to care for me. Stuff like me learning to drop my own NG tube, at least being willing. It took me a while, but being willing to try it a couple times, and me saying, okay, I have an ostomy bag now, and I'm scared to go about my life, but like, how can I find a way to do things again? Like when I wanted to play soccer, I thought, how could I possibly do that? I would go online and I would research, what do I do? And I found protective belts and stuff, and just things like that. My dad said made a world of difference in him caring for me. And searching for that little positive light, I obviously was not happy about my resection going bad and winding up with an ostomy. That was never supposed to happen. And it was very traumatic on, me mentally and physically. But sitting there in the hospital, I was kind of like, well, what's done is done. I have this bag. There's nothing I can do about it now. And I kind of have to figure out what's the next step. How do I move forward? And how do I see the good in this? And I see the good now. Now I see it like clear as day, because I would not be a nurse, I would not be an advocate, I would not be with 11 Health advocating for patients, and I love doing that stuff. Guys, this right here is like the greatest thing to me. I love getting on camera and sharing my experiences. Like, it is so awesome to me. And I would never have done any of this without having a really crappy situation happen to me. Without my bag, I don't know where I'd be. I really don't. So now I see the positive, like clear as day. But before, it was a struggle to see what my role was in life because of this, how I could use it for good. And that is something that a lot of people struggle with, but keep searching. You're in the dark, your flashlight's dead, but maybe, I don't know, somebody drives by and their car lights shine into your window and give you a little glimpse. Look for that. Look for that little bit of light. And I'm hoping that you will be able to move forward with whatever you are struggling with, because guilt is major. Guilt, just feeling like I'm not adequate enough as a child, like feeling like a burden to my dad, was something I struggled with my whole life. And now the fear of being inadequate for Zach, not always being able to have the energy to do fun things with them, or feeling sick a lot, which I'm noticing more and more. I don't have the energy for things. I don't have an appetite for food he's made, and then I feel like a jerk. It's just stuff like that. But I have to look at the positive stuff, and I show him how I use my experiences to help others, and I do what I can. Advocacy has been both a great mental therapy for me, but also a great job. Like, this is my career, and showing him how my work is helping both him and I, but also a lot of other people. So these are kind of the ways I cope with guilt. And remember, it is 100% normal to feel this way. Another thing that I always ask myself is, you know, when you're feeling that guilt, asking myself, okay, they're doing this for you. Your dad's caring for you. Your fiance is caring for you. If the tables were turned and they were the sick one, would you do it for them? And my answer is always, yeah, of course. Like, duh. I love them. So obviously I would care for them. And I wouldn't feel bad about it. I wouldn't feel upset. I wouldn't feel mad. I wouldn't feel annoyed, because that's just what you do. Like, my fiance was sick on Christmas Day. He wound up throwing up all day. And so I did what I could to care for him. And I wasn't mad. I wasn't upset. I just did what I had to. And that's just how it is. So you need to remember that. Your loved ones are caring for you, not because they feel obligated to, because, oh my God, I'm their parent, or I'm going to marry this person. They're doing it because they love you and they want to see you better. So it's okay to feel that guilt, but don't let it bog you down. Don't let it take over your life. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and tell me how you overcome the feeling of guilt and inadequacy with your chronic illness. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. All right, bye, guys.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here